how much of the bandage you must cover in your masah. All madhahib say that it should be all of the area which you need, which is of the bandage, which needs to be, which is over the area of wudu. If you're doing wudu or ghusl, they say all of the area. And the Hanafis, they say most will be in the hukum of all. If someone left a little bit area, they say the masah doesn't have to be a complete masah, as long as the most was done. The same with the khuffain or the masah of head. The Hanafis don't take the view that all of it needs to be done. So based on that, they say the masah must not be all. Well, they say if it's not all of it, it's not a problem. You should do all of it as much as you can. But the other madhahib, they said you must do the masah over the whole area of the bandage. What is covering the area which you need to wash. Yeah. Based on what we just said. Yeah. The question is, should one person who has done masah he's done wiping on bandages, and the bandage is in the area which needs to be washed in wudu, yeah, or in ghusl anywhere. But let's say for wudu, a bandage is in the area of the body, a part of the body which needs to be washed in wudu. Should the person top this up with tayammum? So the Malikis and Hanafis, they said there is no need to do tayammum. So Malikis and Hanafis, look, they are in the same Faqid al-Tahurain, the previous mas'ala, and their understanding is same because of their understanding will continue to be on this line. And Shafis, they have a whole section on this. Inshallah, we'll cover as soon as we can.
Could you repeat the question?
I have got a bandage. I've done wudu and I wiped over my bandage. Do I need to do tayammum or not? Why would someone say that? If, imagine, the fuqaha which said that if you put a bandage on while you did not have wudu, they don't consider your wudu to be complete in the first place. They are the one who say you should do tayammum on top of it. You do masah, wash your body, do masah and do tayammum just in case. Not just in case, actually they say you should do tayammum. Shafi says you must do tayammum. So the Malikis and Hanbalis, they say there is no need. They say Salah is fine. There is no need. And because in their madhab, there is no combining of washing and tayammum. The masah and wash is not combined. Even in khuffain, if your feet was part showing, your ka'bayn, the ankles were part showing, and the rest you had the khuf on, you can't do masah on some and wash some. It must cover all. You can't combine between the two hukums. So they say there is no need. The washing and the masah of tayammum, the washing and tayammum should not be combined. This is the Hanafi and Maliki view. Okay? Shafis, they say that you should wash what he can. Right? If you got a bandage which stops you from washing an area, you must wash. They say wash what you can around it, and you do your masah over it, but say you top it up with tayammum. So he can wash what he can and do tayammum. You know why they say that? There is a hadith. The hadith which I said in the beginning of this chapter. One Sahabi, he was injured in a battle. His head had an open wound. And he had ihtilam. He had wet dream. He asked the Sahaba around him, they didn't know the mas'ala. Because the ayat were of the issue of tayammum was new. And tayammum was originally, the ayats were revealed for wudu. So this person needed what? Ghusl. So he asked his ashab around him, what should I do? They said you have to do ghusl. So he did ghusl, and the explanation of a hadith, they said the water went into his open wound and he died. He did ghusl and he died. When Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam found out, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that he should have put a cloth on his head and should have wiped it and washed the rest of his body and should have done tayammum. Other version of the hadith said if he had done tayammum, that would have been sufficient for him. So the Shafi'is, they say that if you are going to wipe over a wound, you must top it up with tayammum because of the hadith. You see where they get coming from? The other fuqaha, they don't see it like that. Because on the other, there are too many narrations from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam have just said, have you just done that? That would have been sufficient for you, meaning the tayammum. So they don't mix between washing. But because of that, the Shafi said you wipe over the wound, you wash what you can, and you top it up with tayammum. That's Shafi view only. Okay? Clear? Hanbalis, they took kind of a middle view on that. They are happy for someone to wipe over bandage, but only in certain extreme cases where the bandage was covering such big areas of the body, it was covering most of the area which needs to be washed, then in that case they say you should do tayammum as well. Okay, but little bandages, they say just wipe over it. They are with the Malikis and Hanafis in that view. The Shafi view, when it comes to repeating Salah, when Salah done in tayammum, I told you the scenarios, even in normal, because there's no water, they say in some scenarios the Salah should be repeated. In this case as well, they said there are 3 scenarios. They say the Salah should be repeated when bandages stop person from washing the part where he needs to wash. Number 1, if the bandage is in the area which is part of tayammum, then you should repeat the Salah. You should do what you can, because your wudu wasn't complete and your tayammum is not complete. Another thing, they say if, like we already covered, if the bandage was put on while a person is not on tahara, if someone had wudu and he put a bandage on, he had an injury, he put a bandage on, he had wudu, he can do masa over it, they don't have an issue with it. But if he didn't have wudu, they say, he must repeat his salah once this issue is gone. So if bandage was covering more area than you actually require, your wound is here, but the bandage doctor put it up to here. They say the bandage was covering larger area than it really required. Then they say you must repeat your salah. You do the masa, you do the tayammum, you pray. In these 3 scenarios, the Shafi say you repeat the salah. But you don't repeat the salah if the bandage was put in a place which is not need washing in wudu. Let's say your bandage is in the shoulder, you can do wudu. You don't need to. That doesn't affect. So that's common sense. But if the bandage was in the area which is not covered in tayammum, not face or hand, let's say your feet, and you did put it in wudu, then you can do masa over it, you don't need to repeat salah. Have I confused the hell out of everyone? So let me tell you one scenario you don't repeat the salah in. If the bandage was put in wudu while you are in tahara, state of tahara, and that is not the area which is in tayammum, meaning your feet. For ghusl, it could mean larger area, but it's outside the area of tayammum. Yeah? and you put it in wudu, you don't need to repeat the salah. All the others you do. Now it's easier. Easier now. If the bandage was put on, not face or hands, the bandage was not on the face or hands because you can do tayammum properly, and it was put on, the bandage was put on while in wudu, then you don't need to repeat the salah. In other cases you do. So I could have do it the reverse way, been easier. So this is only the Shafi'i view. Only the Shafi'i view. Other fuqaha, Hanbalis, only in a very certain cases where a large area of the body is covered. But in general, the other fuqaha, they say, even if the bandage was not put on wudu, you just do masa over it and your salah is done. One more thing in regards to bandage, which invalidates wudu, if the need for bandage is no more, or the bandage comes off because a person is healed. Now you don't need bandage anymore. You are fine, you don't need bandage anymore, then you can't do masa over it. If it was the case that this bandage is impossible for you to take off, you must wait for your doctor until you see them, that's different case. Because it's not reasonable for you to ask you to break your hand again. So if you can't take it off. But in general, if you have a plaster on, or you have tied a bandage on yourself, you put a bandage on, now you don't need any more. And it's possible to wash it. Or if it comes off naturally, because there's no need for it, then in that case, if you were in wudu, your wudu is now invalidated. If I had wudu, because I had done wudu and I did masa over the bandage, now that the bandage has come off, nothing else has happened to break the wudu, that would be sufficient to invalidate the wudu. Okay? The Ahnaf said the wudu is not invalidated if the wound is not healed, meaning you are changing bandage. It's still not washable. You are changing, or it comes off and you put another bandage on. They say in that case, that's only Hanafi view. But in general, if it comes off, the normal understanding of fuqaha is that in general, if the bandage comes off, it's like the people who said you can do masa on the amama. If amama comes off, wudu is invalidated. You can do masa on your socks. If the socks comes off, wudu is invalidated. You can do masa on the bandage. If the bandage comes off, wudu is invalidated. That's the normal understanding, with minimum a person should have.